Film Flash here. Today, I'm going to explain an American psychological thriller horror film from 2017, titled Get Out. Spoiler ahead, so watch out and take care. Jeremy Armitage, pretending to be someone else, kidnaps Andre Hayworth while Andre is walking alone in a neighborhood he doesn't know. Chris Washington, a black man, has been dating his white girlfriend Rose Armitage for 6 months. They travel to the countryside so Chris can meet Rose's parents. While Chris is away, his friend Rod Williams, who works for the TSA, takes care of Chris's dog. Rod jokes with Chris about being Rose's first black boyfriend and how her rich family might react. On the way to Rose's family home, they hit a deer with their car. Later, they have an uncomfortable moment with a police officer. When they arrive at the Armitage house, Chris meets Rose's parents, her dad Dean, a brain surgeon, and her mom Missy, a psychiatrist. Chris notices that the family's black groundskeeper, Walter, and housekeeper, Georgina, act strangely and seem emotionless. Dean shows Chris around and talks about his own father, Roman, who once lost a race to Olympic runner Jesse Owens. The Armitage family notices that Chris smokes and suggest that Missy, Rose's mother, could hypnotize him to help him quit. Chris politely refuses. Later, Rose's brother Jeremy arrives and acts strangely interested in Chris during dinner. That night, Chris can't sleep and goes outside for a smoke. Suddenly, Walter runs straight toward him, only to turn away at the last second. Shaken, Chris goes back inside, where Missy invites him to sit and talk. As Missy stirs her tea in a slow, repeated motion, she gets Chris to open up about the pain of losing his mom in a hit-and-run accident when he was a child. While they talk, Missy hypnotizes Chris without him realizing it. He becomes completely frozen and unable to move, as she tells him to sink into the floor. His mind becomes trapped in a dark place while his body stays still. He's awake, but can't control himself. The next morning, Chris wakes up confused and tells Rose he thinks her mom hypnotized him. He also keeps noticing more weird behavior from Walter and Georgina. The next day, the Armitages host a fancy garden party with their wealthy, mostly white friends. Chris feels uncomfortable during his conversations with the guests, who make awkward or inappropriate comments. He also meets Logan King, a black man who seems strangely out of touch and is married to a much older white woman. Chris also talks with Jim Hudson, a blind art dealer who praises Chris's photography skills. Chris realizes his phone keeps getting unplugged, which stops it from charging. When he brings it up, Georgina apologizes and acts. Later, Chris takes a photo of Logan with his phone. The camera flash causes Logan's nose to bleed, and he suddenly snaps out of his trance. In a moment of panic, Logan rushes at Chris and yells, "Get out!" before being quickly taken away by Missy. The family tells Chris that Logan just had a seizure. Chris, now very suspicious, shares his concerns with Rose. Meanwhile, Dean holds a silent auction for the party guests using bingo cards. Unbeknownst to Chris, the auction is for him, and Jim Hudson wins. Chris sends Logan's photo to Rod, who recognizes him as Andre Hayworth, the man who went missing months ago. Rod now believes Rose's family is kidnapping black people and turning them into slaves. Chris tells Rose they need to leave right away. As he packs, he discovers a hidden box of photos. The pictures show Rose with many different black men, including some who had also acted strangely, and one photo suggests she was romantically involved with Georgina. This proves to Chris that Rose has been luring people like him for her family. When Chris tries to leave, the entire Armitage family surrounds him. Rose drops her act and coldly admits she's been part of the plan all along. As Chris tries to escape, Jeremy blocks his way, and Missy uses the sound of her spoon stirring in a teacup to hypnotize Chris into unconsciousness again. Meanwhile, Rod continues digging for answers. He finds a photo of Rose with Andre Hayworth, mistakenly referred to earlier as Andre Howard, proving she had a connection to the missing man. Rod goes to the police with his theory that the Armitages are abducting black people, but the detectives just laugh at him. Later, he calls Rose, trying to find Chris. Rose pretends to be innocent, but Rod can tell she's lying and trying to trick him, too. Chris wakes up strapped to a chair in the basement of the Armitage house. A strange video plays in front of him. In it, Roman Armitage explains the Kogilla procedure, a twisted method used to transfer the consciousness of one person into another's body, essentially stealing it. Then, Jim Hudson appears on a monitor and talks to Chris. He explains that the procedure has 3 stages, and that he wants Chris's body so he can regain sight and experience the world through Chris's artistic vision. Chris knows the sound of the teacup can control him. So, he claws at the chair and puts cotton in his ears to block the sound. When the teacup sound plays on the TV, he pretends to be hypnotized and act like he's falling into the sunken place. Nearby, in an operating room, Dean Armitage cuts open Jim Hudson's head to take out his brain. Jeremy goes to get Chris from the holding room, but Chris surprises him and attacks him. Jeremy ends up on the floor with a bleeding head. Chris pulls a deer head off the wall and finds Dean. He kills Dean by stabbing him with the antlers. The lab catches fire and the house starts to burn. Georgina suddenly starts screaming, revealing that she's actually the Armitage grandmother in someone else's body. She yells, "You ruined my house," and causes Chris to crash the car. Rose shows up at the crash with her rifle. Then Walter, who is really Roman Armitage in another body, runs at Chris, ready to attack. But Chris quickly uses the flash on his phone, which helps the real Walter take control of his body again. Walter grabs the gun from Rose, shoots her in the stomach, and then turns the gun on himself. Rose tries to crawl to the gun, but Chris stops her. She says, "I love you," trying to manipulate him. Chris starts to strangle her but can't bring himself to finish it. Just then, a police-looking car shows up, but it's not the police. It's Chris's friend Rod, driving an airport security car. Rod saves Chris, and they leave Rose pleading on the road. Chris goes upstairs and sees Missy. She tries to reach the teacup to control him again and stabs his hand, but Chris grabs the knife and kills her. Jeremy wakes up and tries to stop Chris from leaving. Chris escapes using Jeremy's car, but he accidentally hits Georgina on the road. Remembering how his own mom died, he feels sorry and puts Georgina in the car to help her. Back at the house, Rose hears the noise and grabs a hunting rifle. She sees Chris driving away with Georgina and says quietly,